Welcome to our show host series. I know I've been a little spotty lately, on and off, week by week, but it's summer. I know you're busy. I'm just enjoying taking naps and going at a slower pace. Historically, fun fact, in media making, in podcasting, YouTube, etc., the world I live in, live events, summer is the slow season because people have lives that they want to enjoy when their kids are out of school, or I think that's one of the main reasons that people don't typically do live events in the summers unless it's obviously related to kids or families. It's cool. For several years now, I've noticed the slow season when you're an agency, when you work with multiple clients, things always slow down in the summer. And I've really come to embrace it and love it and just plan for it. And so I don't have a great reason for being spotty with our show host series YouTube videos, but we're here. And today I want to talk about something that's probably top of mind if you live in the US and have kind of been feeling the anxiety or the energy around this being a presidential election year, the news cycle, kind of the temperature of the culture right now. And maybe kind of been wondering, like, what is appropriate for me to share about my own opinions or beliefs around kind of historically taboo topics like politics, religion, sexuality, like fill in the blank. You may have lots of topics that you've kind of avoided on your show, but you may be really thinking quite a bit about it, like as a citizen or as someone who wants to contribute to society's good, as someone who's invested in good things happening within your culture or your community. You may have really been wondering, like, what should I be doing as a show host? Like, maybe what topics should I and shouldn't I broach that are appropriate to the topic that I usually cover in my show? And this is something that I usually kind of give advice on privately, like in client consultations or when someone asks me. Sometimes that's really specific, where clients have come to me and said, like, hey, there's a specific issue that's pretty taboo or charged, but it's really close to my heart and I feel I want to contribute to like help the conversation. And how do I do that? So for you, that may be something political. If you've been feeling that need as a citizen to maybe share some insights or thoughts or your own opinions about kind of government and civic involvement. Or maybe it's something else. So hopefully this will apply no matter what kind of topic you've been entertaining. And I'm literally coming to you from inside our storage room because I was just like, the lighting's great in here. And I know the last couple of videos I've been in rooms where the lighting was not great and I was too lazy to like pull in the lights and make it beautiful for you. So the lighting's great and this is the storage room behind me and you're welcome. But you may hear some hallway noise because I'm not in a soundproofed room. So here's the thing that I think I always share first with someone who asks, like a show host or a media creator who has an existing platform and community who they don't want to disenchant, they don't want to offend, they don't want to alienate, but they feel like I really do feel called to share some messages that maybe I normally wouldn't, or maybe they are related. Maybe you do have a show that it naturally, I'm just going to use the example of politics, maybe that naturally does fit in more with your topics or your guest conversations, but you've been maybe a little hesitant for understandable reasons to bring that kind of energy or attention into your community or into like directed at you. If you share some thoughts or opinions or insights, people have strong opinions, and this is factually speaking, we've never been in a more polarized societal conflict around political beliefs for a long time. Like obviously Civil War, more intense than now, but it's been a long time since it's been this polarized in the US at least. And so there is something really, I think, helpful and comforting to remember first off, and this is where I start with people, you don't owe your audience anything as far as sharing your personal viewpoints on topics that are sensitive or inflammatory. You may feel like you do, but you actually don't. There's no contract that you and the community or the audience of your show have signed. Truly, you are creating a free product for them that they in turn pay with their attention. And even if you have some kind of paid community, like a paywall in front of your show, you still haven't, the contract that you created for them didn't say, and I will share my deepest held beliefs about trigger issues. Like, it's just not an obligation that you need to feel, even if you've seen friends do it or you've seen people you admire doing it. I just want to remind you that the actual contract that you have with your audience is like, I always like to invoke Brene Brown on this one. And she said in one of her books, and I can't remember which one because I read it so long ago, only share your story with those who've earned the right to hear it. And that I've always remembered as such a helpful guideline because in a world of social media, kind of no gatekeepers, no barriers to publication, obviously on social media, like that's the culture. It's really easy to kind of fall into a mindset of like, I'm supposed to share everything with the people who've entrusted me with their attention, but that's just not true. So first off, I want to remind you of that. And then secondarily, I think it doesn't mean you shouldn't share. I just want you to remember that you are not contractually obligated to share your thoughts. Your podcast or your YouTube show or your live event may not be the best format to share some of those thoughts. Those might be better suited to an email. They might be better suited to one-on-one conversations or something inside of your group coaching community or your paid membership that has boundaries and confidentiality for a reason, you know? So just remember, like your podcast and your YouTube show or your live event, your media that you create for anyone on the internet to find, it isn't always the forum to share these more sensitive opinions or ideas or thoughts or feelings. So we've already said we're not contractually obligated. 2, the podcast may not be the best place to share. But if you feel like this is appropriate, this would be appreciated with my audience, I do feel like it's something I feel strongly I should share. And I do think the podcast would be the best place to share it. Then I would invite you to think about how best to share your intention so that your audience understands why you're sharing. This can go a really long way. I think it's easy in a world of, rapid fire responses and people being nasty online to be like, I'm just going to share and I don't owe anyone an explanation. And you don't. But it goes a long way to give a brief explanation why you're sharing something that may be a sensitive, triggering, polarizing topic for folks. So let's say you are going to share some thoughts about politics in the US leading up to a presidential election, just as an example on your show. I would definitely recommend to just give a brief, it could be a couple of sentences. It doesn't have to be like a 10-minute. No, that's probably too much for anyone. I would share like a minute about why. And just say, hey, I know that we don't really talk about politics on the show, and that's for a reason, and I want to respect everybody's different viewpoints, and I know you've come to your own conclusions. But if you, like me, have been struggling to feel calm and clarity in the current political climate leading up to this election, and you want to contribute to a really good society and government, like here's some thoughts that I have. And I felt compelled to share them because we're all in this together. No, obviously, that's Christine voice, but like put it in your own voice, but like see how helpful that was that I would just put that context in and then I could share. And obviously some people are still going to have wild opinions about whatever they're going to have opinions about, and they are probably going to tell you, and that's fine. So obviously be prepared to get whatever response back that you get back. And since you invited it, don't be mad at whatever happens. But I think that goes miles to just explain to people and state your intention for sharing before you share. And then share whatever you want to share. I would obviously keep it as judgment-free and compassionate as you can, while still stating the things that you want to state. And then I would just wrap it simply and be like, thank you so much for listening. And if you have thoughts that you want to share with me, I welcome them, if you welcome them, and tell them where they can share them, an email or a DM or whatever. And if you don't want them, just say like, these are, I was kind of nervous to share this. I felt like it was important, and I probably am too sensitive to really reply to feedback on this. So if you send me a note, I probably won't reply, but thank you for listening. Just be honest. Be honest. Maybe if you've been nervous, if you haven't been nervous, your intention. This goes a really long way to humanize you, even if someone wildly disagrees with maybe the viewpoint that you share, because then they can understand why and kind of where you're coming from. So those are my thoughts for today. I wanted to share that because obviously we're right in the middle of like primary elections and debates and a few months in the US. Like it's going to be a pretty wild world in the media landscape. And so if you're part of the media landscape and you want to try and contribute good to the conversation, I understand if you're nervous, but those are some tips that I usually share with clients that hopefully are helpful to you. All right, that's our show. That's our show. That's our show, our video for the week. Subscribe. We're bringing you weekly tips to be a great show host. And if you have questions, leave a comment.